It felt like I had this secret that I had been holding in. And I think secrets has just been, I hate secrets. I hate them. I hate secrets. I think it's so toxic. And I know I don't want to use the word toxic. Everybody uses the word toxic, but secrets are toxic.
They're draining.
Yeah, they're draining.
They take away your life energy, your life force.
Yes. Yes.
100%.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Break the Norm podcast, where we break free from the so-called normal and build something real, bold, and unapologetically you. I'm Ruth Solorzano, actor, producer, and living proof that you can come back from most things.
And I'm Lily Shaw, actor, mentor, creator of Shine Anyway course, and someone who's never believed in playing small. It's time to break the norm.
Together.
And we're back.
We are back.
Right after the break.
Yes.
So, I want to pick up on because one of the big factors that we're talking about in our podcast is the idea of reclaiming our story and no longer hiding behind it, no longer being ashamed of it, right? And this is literally why our podcast was born, is because we want to be able to talk to people and say, hey, you don't have to be defined by what happens to you, right?
Right.
So I thought this could be a good time to talk about you, like, what you did with the guy who, I call him guy, but asshole. At what point did you decide to not only take him down, but then to start talking about it in that article that you wrote?
I didn't write it. I actually was I've been interviewed by a few people. First one was when I was a bartender. I had a regular, and she was a writer for the UN, and she was starting a blog that was about people who had done kind of, courageous things. And I remember I got a little drunk. I mean, liquid courage, it's real. I don't really drink anymore, but back in the day, it was my drug of choice. And I went up to her and I was like,
food was
Chris,
mine.
Yeah, there you go. We all have them. I was like, Chris, I think you need to write something about me. I think you should interview me. And I had always kind of wanted to talk about my story, I think deep down. But I was always just, terrified and didn't know how to talk about it per se. And so having the opportunity to talk with someone about it, someone who I trusted, someone who I felt safe with, and someone who, to be honest, was just like a smart woman. And that's someone I admired as well. I think that really helped me out to be able to feel comfortable enough to talk to someone in detail about it. And that was kind of the catalyst to me. And then Me Too happened.
Right.
And honestly, Me Too, I kind of never felt super connected with, but I did feel connected with the Larry Nassar trial, which was the Olympians.
Oh, yes.
The gymnasts.
Yes.
All of those girls that were abused for so long. And when I saw that trial, I literally was like, oh my God, me too. And then that made me kind of come out with my story on Facebook at first. And I wrote this whole thing about fear and how I wasn't letting fear take me over anymore. I remember calling my sister crying and I don't know if I can post this. I don't know. And she's like, you could do it. You could do it. And so support, right? I had so many, my sister supported me, my friend supported me by interviewing me, my husband supported me, I had multiple people in my corner, and I had already built that community for myself to where when I was ready to come out with my story, I felt safe enough to do it. And so I think that is so essential. You have to kind of build some kind of a network for yourself in order to feel safe enough to come out with your stuff, because if not, you're just always going to be living in that fear, and you're not going to be able to really express yourself to the fullest, because I always knew I needed to express this out. I needed to let it out in order for me to be able to take over other things, to tackle other things and let other things take my brain space rather than this.
Right. Wow. So let's go back to the point where you said that you were crying.
Yeah.
What was that like? Like, what was the thing that made you like, cry? Was it shame? Was it fear?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had lived in shame and fear and all of those things for so long that, like, even this just sharing, as a survivor, one of the things that you are afraid of is being known for this thing.
Yes, I agree.
And I think that
Yes.
that was my fear for the longest time was, is this how people are going to know me? Is this what's going to be the thing that's like going to define who I
Define you.
am?
Yes.
I don't want this to be that. Like, I didn't ask for this. Like, and I think that's what, unfortunately, is the thing that a lot of survivors struggle with when they want to come out with their story or even come out to their family or to people who they may trust because they're afraid of being labeled. And unfortunately, our society has not traditionally been supportive or welcoming to people who have
trusting.
or trusting. A lot of the time, the woman is the hysterical one.
Liar,
not believed. And so I think the whole Me Too movement and all of that really helped me feel like people would actually listen and understand. And because it happened to me for so long, I think a lot of that, like the shame that you said, you live with that feeling of, why didn't I do more? And my therapist...
Yes, self-loathing.
Right?
Yes, that's an integral part of abuse.
Yeah, you think like you're the one or like... And
you instigated it somehow. You should have been stronger. You should have been better, or if you weren't that pretty or if you weren't that inviting, was your dress too short or was your laugh too loud? Something that I was told. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, that's what abusers also make you feel, as if it's your fault.
It is. Yep.
They're always making it feel like you're the one who did it. So you are...
If you were better, this wouldn't be happening to
you. Exactly. So...
You make me mad. You annoy me. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And when they don't realize that it's them.
It's them. They fully know that. That's the other side of it, is like they're running away from them and they fully know that. That's why they're like taking it out on you because they're... I don't even want to talk about it because then we'll be here forever.
But yeah, so I think, what was the question again?
Like the fear around the crying. Like, what was the thing that made you like so scared that you broke out crying and calling your sister? All you were doing is sharing your story on Facebook.
Well, all I was doing was sharing my story with all of the people I knew and that I cared about opinions.
Yeah.
And it took me letting go of that and realizing that, no, I should care about my own self before I care about what all these other people think.
So is that really was the thought process that finally like let you post?
I think so. I mean, I think it was just, it really was just me knowing that I needed to rip the Band-Aid.
It also kind of feels like you were perhaps ready to like not this be the story of your life.
Yes. I didn't want to be dictated by this, I wanted to like change my narrative and recreate my own narrative and really take hold of it and be the boss of it.
Yeah.
It's like, actually, no, like this thing isn't the thing anymore. Like, I'm the thing and I'm going to do what I want to do. And if this thing is in my way, then I'm going to get it out of my way.
And this is the way to get it out.
And this is the way to get it out. Exactly. And,
I'm curious, like, what was the response from the Facebook?
I mean, that post, it was huge. I mean, so many people reaching out. Kind words.
Oh,
mostly
nice.
all
Nice,
kind
nice.
words. Yeah. Yeah. I did, hear, because I came out with that. And then after I put him in prison, I interviewed with the San Francisco Chronicle for like a year. And they wrote a story about me and all of the things that happened. And I also interviewed with NPR. So I've done a few interviews now. And yeah, I mean, you have people from the past also just being like, oh, we knew.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people knew. A lot of people suspected. And they just didn't say anything or do anything because, back then, what was it, like the late 90s, early 2000s, people didn't I mean, still people don't talk
People
about it.
seldom do because it involves putting your own safety at risk, and people really rarely do that. They
Yeah,
don't. They
they'll
don't stand
gossip
up for
about it.
others.
No,
They don't.
even if
Eh,
they're children. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm. It's sad. It's really sad.
I wonder why. I mean, this is like something that has stayed with me a long time of like having witnessed it and experienced it. It's like people are seeing wrong things being done and being said, and yet they're choosing to let it happen. Like, what kind of mindset? Especially, like you said, when it's children, especially when it's teenagers. Like, surely we can say that kids who are under 25 can be immune from this stuff, but I don't know. This is one of those questions that I try not to think about, but it does get to me every once in a while. It's like, at what point is the point, like, the cost of silence is the cost of your soul? Like, are you paying that with your soul?
Yeah.
And people
Yeah.
do that. I don't know why.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was talking with my neighbor the other day, and he just had a 1-year-old.
Hmm.
And he was like, talking about being a parent and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I don't want kids. And he's like, well, yeah. He was like, oh, you're gonna have, when your time comes. And I was like, I don't want kids. And he's like, oh no, yeah, totally. No. And he's like, but in a way, my kid is your kid. And I was like, what? Okay. And he's like, no, because it takes a community to raise a kid. And like, if you see a kid out there that's in need, like, you are responsible for helping that kid because you're an
Wow.
adult in this community. And I was like, you know what? Yeah,
That's deep.
that's super deep, And I was like, that's right. Like, if I would have had someone looking out for me, like, it would have been a different story.
Yeah.
Right. And unfortunately, when it comes to something like abuse, it's usually someone you know.
Yep.
But back in the day, they used to stranger danger. Like, that's not a thing.
It is a thing.
I mean, it can be a thing, but it's not as common.
I mean, the real damage, long lasting damage, tends to come from people who are close to us. For
It's
sure.
people who have access.
Yep.
People who people trust.
And it's not just about like it's control, right? It's control designed as love. It's it's abuse of power. It's abuse of authority. It's abuse of trust, and it's also the whole going back like full circle to where we started, this idea of like, don't trust yourself, trust the other person. So if a child, there's this thing I think I read on Instagram where they said that if a child says, I don't want to go to this adult, if I don't want to hug this person, if I don't want to smile at them, do not force them into doing it.
Yeah.
Because something in their intuition, in their nervous system is saying that these people are not safe. Do not make a child perform in front of adults or in front of other people just because, they're like, sing a song. Don't make them do that unless they're willing to do it. Like, don't make them trust them that if they're not wanting to get close to another person, there is a reason for that.
There's a reason. Let them trust your gut.
Yeah.
Like, they're kids, dogs are the same. Like, animals know. Like,
They know.
We have to like let go of this whole thing of like making kids like perform for you or do things. It's like, no, kids know. Like, let them know. It's okay. It's good.
And it's also like this subtle way of like brainwashing people, right? Making them less trusting of their own truth and making them more trustful of like the authority outside of them, right? Whether that's a church, whether that's a teacher, whether that's a parent, whether that's like, in women's cases, it's like any random man walking down the street, can say whatever. And now like that becomes your reality, right? They can call you a name and it becomes this thing of, well, what did you do? So they said that to you, that old like 90s and early 2000 thinking. So
Yeah. I just listened to this podcast the other day, Culture Study. I'm going to shout them out. About how the 2000s ruined us.
oh no,
And
that's our era.
I know. And it's just so true. You like watch all of these old like movies. I mean, we've done it. We've gone down the rabbit hole of
we
just
did.
like watching some old like comedies like from like 2013, and you're just like, oh my God, like what were we doing? And people don't think that we've come a long way. We've come a long way. Yeah.
I mean, the women that are in those movies, like I was watching Four, Superman, Fantastic Four.
Oh, Fantastic Four.
And the woman in that, Jessica Alba, I
Uh-huh.
mean, she didn't have a pimple on her face. Her hair was
I
perfect. She
mean,
was
she's
like
always
this
looking
big.
like that though.
But I
But
was
yeah.
like, and Kerry Washington is in it. I mean, the expectations placed on these women, I'm like, they are not allowed, like a hair is not allowed to be out of place.
No.
And that's us. I mean, that's our era. You
Yeah.
know, like that's the time when you and I started
Yeah.
acting.
And when what we grow up watching and
We
like
grew
what
up
we grew up
watching
idolizing and
these
thinking
people.
like, oh,
Yeah.
that's what we have
That's
to
what you
be.
need to be. I
Yeah.
mean, like, no diss on Kate Middleton, but like, look at how perfection oriented her existence is.
Oh yeah.
You know, like she has to fit that model of like the princessy thing, and which means hair is always perfect. She has to always say the right things. The body has to be like a certain measurement size, and all of that comes from this thing of like, if women don't fit into this expectation, then they are not valid.
Yeah. I mean, we could talk about the Kardashians. I mean, there's so many examples still. Still.
Still.
There are, like, we are lucky enough to have other things to look at. Somebody who I follow on Instagram that I really love is Alana, I think how you say her last name is Mayhar or Mayer. It might be Mayer. Alana Mayer. She's a rugby player an Olympic rugby player. Honestly, the only reason I really know her is because of Dancing with the Stars. My what is it? Not dirty pleasure. Not dirty.
Guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure.
Your dirty pleasure.
Not my.
You know, your husband is right here.
He knows. He watches it with me. Hey, but anyway. I know her from Dancing with the Stars, and it was one of those. She's one of those people who, she's a strong fucking lady, and she's not afraid to show it. She just did a Sports Illustrated cover, and she's just like looking good, and I'm just like, how nice is it to see somebody who doesn't fit this box that we keep trying to put women in, and like to break through it, and to still look sexy, and to still look hot, and to still love herself.
Too much.
It's too much. It's overwhelming. I mean, one recommendation is on your Instagram, go through all your stuff, and all of the stuff that makes you feel bad about yourself, mute or unfollow.
Yeah.
Get it out of your feed. Because, like, we just need to, like, give ourselves the chance to, like, not feel shitty.
You know, that's so funny. Like, in terms of, like, how like women are programmed, I'll share this. Like I go to dance class every Saturday, right? And I've been doing it for a couple of years, and after COVID, like I went through a phase where I was slimming down, and then I stopped slimming down, and like it's like my weight stabilized. So like it change, you know, when you're thinner, like it changes the way you dance, right? Like it's gonna make you lighter, so it's gonna like improve the quality of your dancing. Let's just put it that way. So that was happening to me because I was one getting the technique, and two because I was lighter, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. Like I had a very like energetic dance session. It was a Frank Sinatra song, which I really, really loved, Luck Be a Lady Tonight. So I got to dance on that. So I was just like feeling pretty good. And I walk out, and this one of the older women who was in the dance class at the time, she was like, oh, it's pretty good. Too bad your feet are too big. And I was like, what? Like,
Okay.
like, I mean, I was like, oh my God, like it blew me away that everything was good about me. But so she had to like go and find something that she could criticize. So she went to my feet, and she's like, oh yeah, these shoes make your feet look too big. And it hit me at the time that somebody at some point told her that. Somebody absolutely told her that her feet were too big for her body, that she now pointed that out to me. And I have never ever in my life ever heard that. I didn't even know that was a thing, that women's feet could be bigger than their body. Feet are your feet, man. You have them, and you're grateful for them.
I'm great. Thank goodness for my feet.
I love my feet.
I love my feet.
I didn't even know you were not supposed to love your feet. How do you like? It's a thing that's there.
I have flat feet, and I love them. The pancakes of them all.
Put some honey on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that like the level that we will go to criticize a woman, the depths and the lowers, I mean, we will go all the way to the feet. So, to make sure that a woman doesn't get too carried away in her own self-worth.
Mm.
And now I'm seeing that happen to men. I'm now seeing that happen to young men, and where like their body sizes are getting like defined, and like I'm not. I was about to share a story about my brother, but he'll kill me. So we'll moving on.
No, I mean you're right about. I mean, Hugo knows. He's talked about it with me before. He used to watch. What was it? Men's Health, babe. Was it that what you used to read when you were a kid? Yeah, Men's Health magazine. And I mean, I identify with that. Like glamour used to come in. You're constantly like looking at these examples of what quote unquote you're supposed to look like.
Yeah, my brother struggled with that. Like he thought like he couldn't go on a date because he didn't have like six pack, and I
Yeah.
was like, that's so not a requirement.
Yeah, and it's sad. It's sad because men do struggle with body image issues a lot.
A lot.
I mean, honestly, probably close to as much as women do. They just don't talk about it as much. It's not,
And because
seen
it's
in
not
society.
manly.
It's not manly to talk about your body
About-
image.
Heaven forbid you have any emotions.
Yeah, truly, truly. Yeah, it's very interesting how like it's just kind of a societal thing. And I mean, look, I'm not trying to leave out like trans people. It's like a whole other thing, you know. Like
Yeah.
I can't even imagine having to deal with all of the things that come in society that affect trans people. It's really sad that we haven't built a culture yet built on self-love.
We're like
We're on the way.
we're on the way, and I think like we absolutely have to bring in like a trans actor at some point, because I think that is a fairly new phenomenon, and it has been politicized. I'm sorry, phenomenon.
It's
fairly
and it's not new. It's just an issue that is now being politicized.
That's what about that. Thank you for
Yes.
saying that. That's what I meant. Like it's been brought up more than it should have been, and we are making it political versus empathetic and human.
Correct.
But that, I mean, I have no expertise to talk about something like that.
Neither do I.
But what I can like relate to is the idea of being the other, of being pressured again into fit into a system that doesn't upset the sensibilities of the majority. Let's just say it that way, the unconscious majority. And I think
The quote unquote normal.
that's why we're breaking the
The
norm.
that's right. No, and that's so right. And I gosh, I've lost my train of thought.
Yeah, and I think that's why like the whole idea of like putting your voice out has gotten so much traction, especially since the Me Too, which brought bringing us back to the original question of like, when do you decide that you want to put your story out and feel safe in doing that, you can do that without having backlash and without feeling like you will be victimized all over again. That kind of safe culture is just now beginning to develop.
Yeah, and now I remember what I was going to say. So one vibe, one feeling, something that I can equate coming out with my story was, and I've said this before, is it truly felt like I was coming out of the closet. Like I have to like equate it to something like that, what I would imagine someone who's queer feels like when they are coming out as their true selves. That's how it felt.
Yeah.
It felt like I had this secret that I had been holding in. And I think secrets has just been, I hate secrets. I hate them. I hate secrets. I think it's so toxic. And I know I don't want to use the word toxic. Everybody uses the word toxic, but secrets are toxic.
They're draining.
Yeah, they're draining.
They take
ugh.
away your life energy, your life force.
Yes, yes.
100%.
and it just felt so good. It's like, when you eat like a big ass meal and then you just like let your pants go. You're just like, oh, I can breathe again. Like that's what it felt like. It was just like, finally, I can breathe. And that's what it was. That's what it was. It was letting go of that fear and letting go of those secrets.
What was the first thing you did after like breaking free?
First thing I did.
After those articles and stuff came out.
Well, I was in Hawaii when my article came out with the Chronicle, because that was a really big one, because it also it went into great detail about all of my story, and it's a lot of components. Like I said, you can look it up. I don't need to talk about it, but it was I shared more than I'd ever shared publicly with them, and I was terrified,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. But then after it came out, I went and I spent some time on a farm in Hawaii on like a coffee farm and just kind of reconnected with nature and gratitude.
Mm.
Gratitude has been a huge factor. It's played such a big factor
You
in my
know,
story.
I hear it so much and I fucking hate being grateful. As spiritual as I am, gratitude is the thing that like sinks my ship. Like, why the fuck do I gotta be thankful?
Well, I listened to this interview. How I found gratitude was I was listening to this interview on NPR of Michael J. Fox.
Mm.
And I don't know if you know about Michael J.
Yes,
Fox, but he has
Parkinson's.
Parkinson's,
Yeah.
correct? And he talked about finding gratitude. And I remember listening to that and sobbing.
Mm.
And just that, like I said about memoirs, like I think putting things into perspective for yourself is one of the biggest gifts you can give yourself, is really understanding that life is full of different journeys. And just because yours doesn't look like you want it to doesn't mean it can't be a fulfilling life.
Yes. And I think that is where it becomes this place of like not letting your experiences define you,
Mm-hmm.
but and also like understanding that failures are stepping stones to successes.
Mm-hmm.
That the failure only becomes a failure when you stop trying. When you stop trying to get ahead of it, that's when you
Mm-hmm.
become stuck at that moment, in that time, in that journey, on that path. But if you keep trying, if you keep moving forward, and even if that is like on a small scale, like what you were just saying, like that Dancing with the Stars person,
Mm-hmm.
or which I imagine that's not a small
No,
scale
it's not.
because it's Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
Or if it's on like a huge level where you're like literally like taking your shame and putting it out, and you don't know if you're gonna get shamed for it or if you're gonna get accepted for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything that you just said kind of like resonated with me, because my moment of I also went through this of like having to tell my story became the catalyst that no longer let me be defined by it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the change really, really came in the form of a coach.
Mm.
And again, it was like this was around COVID. Everything was shut down, and I found this amazing coach. Her name is Heather Burgett, and she's a PR coach
Mm.
of all the things in the world.
Yeah.
And when she said, like, went to her like free master class, and she said something that really resonated with me. And to this day, I was like, I have no idea what she said, but whatever she said, it was so strong that I was like, I don't know what she's teaching, but I'm signing up for her class.
Mm.
And that was again like my intuition deciding like for me, and me trusting and not knowing where the path was going
The
to take me.
curiosity.
The curiosity, it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
even that at that point. It was just like, I have to do this, and I
Mm.
didn't know why. I literally took a leap of faith
Mm-hmm.
inside, and it was not a cheap class. It was cheaper because it was COVID. It was the only
Mm.
reason it was cheaper, or it was in my price range.
Mm-hmm.
If it was the normal times, this person would not have come into my life.
Mm-hmm.
But because COVID is like, like talking about blessings and talking about being grateful, um, uh, that was the perfect amalgamation of two events that are seemingly bad, like bringing out something good, because I got to work with this person who was completely out of my range budget wise.
Mm-hmm.
And she became the person that for the first time in her container, I talked to women, and I opened my mouth and I shared this story of like 15-year abuse that I suffered and neglect that happened at the hands of my mom's sister-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that there are words that can describe the sense of release that I felt when I shared my story.
Mm.
And then on top of it came their reaction. And every
Yeah.
and these were a mixed group of women, and they were decidedly older. Some of these women were like 20 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was whatever I was 5 years ago. And these women were like corporate women who were starting their jobs again, like
Mm-hmm.
starting and pursuing their passions.
Yeah.
And they would not stop shaking their heads and like agreeing with everything that I was saying. And that was the first time I realized that my story is not quite so unique.
No.
Like, I was like, oh, like I don't have to freaking hide under this. You know, that there are other women who want to hear my story because they find it inspiring. And my coach, Heather Brigette, she became the person who said, this thing that you went through, it's going to inspire not just these women, but you don't know how many other women are going to be uplifted and they're going to want to change their life just the way that you changed it.
Yeah.
And that is how, like, this is why I signed up for the class, clearly, so that I could finally be given the freedom to share and no longer feel like I was abused because I deserved it, which is what, like, I was, I obviously taught myself.
Right.
And I will say it, like, as an asterisk, that I was in that place just like you were, where I was ready to tell the story. I just didn't know that. I just hadn't connected to that part of my life. And that's where the Me Too movement became that all important moment of like, okay, these women are sharing and they're not being eaten alive. Maybe I can share and this
Yes.
time actually be seen and be heard and be
Yes.
validated.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like the greatest, like the saddest and the happiest moment of my life was when those women believed me.
Mm.
They said, and one of those women, Sonia, who I love, she's one of my favorite people. She's also an actress. She said, like, what they did shouldn't have happened to you. And I cried because I realized that no one had ever said that to me. No one, everybody just kept telling me to be strong. No one had said, hey, that yes, I survived through it, and I survived through it because of my strength and because of my resilience. But what they did, what she did specifically, and then how she got her whole entire family, and then the Indian community at large to turn against first me and then my family, she was wrong. And to hear that was so life affirming.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the first time I had to do a podcast episode, and the night before, just like you, I was crying. I was scared. I didn't sleep. I was like, she's going to hear about this. And then how is she going to use this podcast thing to hurt me again?
Right.
And that's what I was afraid of. 15 years, after having been through a spiritual journey, spiritual healing, still like in my mind space being defined by this person who chose to victimize me because for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And the change for me was like that podcast. I still remember I was wearing a jean jacket and a white shirt because white is my color. I the release, the relief, the power, to say those words, to share the story, like I felt like my throat came alive. It was the first time I felt like how my voice had been suppressed for 15 years, that I wasn't allowed to speak in my own defense for 15 years. And that was my first biggest like self lesson that put me on this path of like, I am now going to share my story and teach other people how not to get like be forced to become smaller. It's because I realized that I wasn't allowed to speak. And when I did speak, I was shut down. And if I wasn't shut down, I was not believed.
Yeah.
And that power of your throat, the power of your voice, I mean, that is what needs to be put out in the world.
Yeah. I mean, you need to take your power back in that way, you know?
You do. You need to own your fucking narrative.
Yeah. Absolutely. You do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the thing that I have realized in all of this is, one, it doesn't happen right away.
Yes.
It takes a long time. It takes failing. It takes picking yourself back up when you don't want to. And it takes a lifestyle change.
Yes.
Because that's the thing that I think is the most hard for all of us. I think back to my mom drinking Slim Fast back in the day, thinking that she could like lose weight that way by drinking Slim Fast shakes. because it's going to be quick, or, just diet culture in general. If you're on this thing, it's a quick fix, or 8-minute abs, all of these things we've been fed for so long, being like, if you do this, you're going to get this. And the thing about healing and about taking your narrative back and about, breaking your normal is it takes time. You just have to do a lot of things in order to get to the place that you want to be. And it's not linear. It kind of takes turns, and it goes, places you never thought you would go. But if you keep on pushing forward and keep on trying to pursue the thing that you want, you're going to find yourself there inevitably.
And I think it gets really highlighted in our individual journeys, right? Like, you took the more external, more physical path of like physically removing yourself, physically learning how to, all the things that you didn't want to do, dancing, exploring, being curious, right? You went that path, and I went the path of inner journey. I went through the path of, becoming like literally like reading books and teaching myself law of attraction and all of that stuff. And yet, both of us in this moment right here, right now, are sitting transformed and on our path of becoming the person that we wanted to eventually become.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that like I might have started physically, but I feel like I'm on kind of more my spiritual path right now, because with like the yoga and with like meditation and with reading, and I was also on an educational path trying to educate myself, because I was homeschooled and Seventh-day Adventist, and it's so difficult to really. They don't educate you. They educate you about the 10 commandments.
Because education is power.
Because education is power.
Of course.
Exactly. You're going to find yourself that way. They don't want that.
No. You'll think for yourself. And that is dangerous. Women thinking for themselves.
Oh my goodness.
Who wants that?
Nobody. Well, we do. But my point is just because you start somewhere doesn't mean you can't end up somewhere else later.
And to your point, that's where I'm at. I went through inner journey, and now I'm on the outer path. I'm like doing this, sharing my story, going on past podcasts, pursuing acting, becoming a coach. All of this is now external driven, whereas, for the last many, many years, it hasn't been.
Yeah.
And on that note,
yeah, it's cool. It doesn't have to be linear. It can go many, many ways.
Yeah, and I think the important thing is to understand, 1, be gentle, 2, be kind, 3, be committed, and realize that if you're plugged into your purpose, then the paths or the obstacles just become like stepping stones versus like the thing that stops you.
Next time on Break the Norm podcast.
Like, knowing how people perceive you is important to understand how to get your foot in the door. And then once you get in the door, then you can, and nobody's going to just want to bet on you right away, but you can prove yourself to show that you can do different type of work.
Thank you for tuning in today's episode of Break the Norm.
We want to give a very special shout out to the team that's making this podcast possible. SCV Studios, our editor, Eileen Hanley.
Our producer, music and sound recording, Hugo Fowler.
And before we leave, we ask people to subscribe and leave us a review. We are everywhere you listen to your podcast. And that's it. We'll be back, right? We're done?
We'll be back.